The Subaru Legacy has always been a very special package due to its standard all-wheel drive. But with ever-evolving competition, that's not going to keep it on top of the class. That's why Subaru has smacked the Legacy into the next decade with this new 2020 model. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel so you can help me take this to the next level. Thank you. Now back to the review. The exterior of the Legacy puts off some real dad vibes. Everything here is pretty functional. It doesn't have the fake vents of the Toyota Camry. It doesn't have the super sharp angular looks of the Honda Accord.
Still, it manages to have a sharper design up front than in years past. We have standard LED headlights and optional LED fog lights on the Premium. And speaking of trims, we have 5. Base, then Premium, like my tester, then Sport, which is a jazzed up Premium, then the Limited and Touring, which are available with a turbo engine that brings the XT badge along with it. My Premium rolls on 17s, you can get the base with hubcaps, 18s are an option.
And then we're met with a very familiar side silhouette. It's more chiseled than it was last year, and I like that. It keeps it clean, keeps it modern. Another thing that you might notice on the side is how large the side windows are. Subaru likes to make these windows obscenely big, so then you have good visibility. You'll notice it in the Forester, you'll kind of notice it in the Outback. Here it's pretty present too. Makes it kind of look like a fishbowl. Coming around to the rear of the vehicle, the taillights are completely different from the previous model. I like the new smoke that they put on these taillights. Looks good. But other than that, there's really not much going on. It's definitely sharper than it used to be.
You might not love it, but you really can't hate it. The Legacy design is pretty inoffensive. Let me know what you guys think in the comments.
Now the exterior might have not changed that much, but the interior did. See, we see some pretty big changes. One that's pretty familiar is the gauge cluster and steering wheel. So the gauge cluster on every single Subaru Legacy model is analog. There's not a digital cockpit, there's a little multi-function display in there. The steering wheel, very familiar Subaru. The left is your media and volume controls, the right is your adaptive cruise control. Subaru's new lane keep assist. It's different from what they've done in the past, and I'll talk about it later. Now, if we move a little bit over to the right, that's where shit gets crazy. We have 11.6 inches of screen here. This is standard on the Premium trim and up. Below this, you have 2 7-inch screens. Now, I like how Subaru did this because they kept the volume knob, they kept the tuning knob. If you want it to be cold and you want it to be hot, you can change it with actual physical buttons. That's nice. I have a few complaints, like the fact that if you want to turn on and off the auto start stop, you have to do it in the screen.
And like all the other systems I've seen, you have to shut it off each time you start up the car. The vertical orientation also means that things like the backup camera and Apple CarPlay and Android Auto don't fill the screen that much, which looks a little off-putting. The benefit, you can control the climate and radio system while either of those things are on the screen. The aforementioned Apple and Android systems come standard on all Legacies. The infotainment system itself is not the snappiest out there, but it was far from being a nuisance to me. It's also intuitive and easy on the eye. Speaking of eyes, the Legacy watches yours with its kind of neat and fun to mess with driver focus system. It alerts the driver if they're not paying attention or nodding off, and acts as a fancy memory setting that adjusts your mirrors and seats accordingly. With some of the tech out of the way, let's talk quality.
You have this nice aluminum looking plastic surrounding the screen. You have it around the shifter as well. It looks good. The fit and finish in here is much better than it used to be, and I really appreciate Subaru's attention to detail there. And one thing that I really love, and I talked about this in the Outback review too, they put soft touch materials where your knees go. Like some other manufacturers do this, but rarely does it happen in a cheaper vehicle, and I commend Subaru for doing this. And obviously, where your elbows rest will also be soft. The seats themselves are power adjustable, 10-way, in the Premium and up, and you get 6-way adjustable seats in the base Legacy, but then you get heated seats in the Premium trim and up as well. The Premium trim is the bulk seller, And for a reason, because you do really get most of what you want out of the premium.
Like a solid and powerful enough 6-speaker audio system. The bass trim only comes with a disappointing 4-speaker setup.
But then you also have a Harman Kardon system, a 12-speaker unit. That's the one to get. It's pretty powerful, it's pretty nice. The 6-speaker unit really isn't bad either. But if you like sound, go with the Harman Kardon. As far as size goes, I'm 6'3", 6'4" in some shoes, and I got plenty of headroom, plenty of leg room. It's pretty comparable to the Honda Accord up front. Now I'll hop in the back and give you a report. I have adequate room, few inches for my knees, a few inches for my head, but it's still comfortable. I have a decent amount of support for my thighs. Then I have soft touch materials on the door and in the center console. You also get 2 USB ports back here on the premium trim and up, which is a really nice touch. Bitch. In the trunk, we have 15.1 cubic feet of room to deal with. This is pretty reasonable. It's well shaped, which I like. If you go by the numbers, it's not as big as, say, the Honda Accord.
But those numbers aren't always a good way to view cargo capability. The Legacy can also fold the rear seats to assist with longer items.
All right, now let's see how it drives. The driving experience that you get from the Legacy is not like any other midsize sedan, or really any sedan for that matter. For starters, out of the midsize sedans, this one sits the highest up. It's got the highest height. Secondly, the visibility out, which I touched on a little bit earlier. The windows are really low for a car, so you actually have really good visibility, which is usually a plus for an SUV, not a sedan. You don't feel like a hawk like you do in the Forester, but I mean, this is really good. It's a very easy car to drive, and it's also pleasant to drive. So Subaru made this model more slippery and added insulation to areas that needed it. And overall, I mean, it's just a very quiet vehicle.
The previous gen was also quiet. Subaru says this one is even more sneaky, but if you're coming from the previous generation, you might not notice it until you really pick up speed. The comfort level in here is great too. The softish, sportive seats are welcoming and the bolstering is not aggressive, but it's still present enough to make you feel secure. The ride is softly sprung, the chassis feels stiff, no creaks over hard bumps or imperfections. The car feels planted, but it isn't taut. The suspension is lax and allows too much body motion for me to consider it as such. While it's rarely noticeable in day-to-day driving, that body roll and a bit of play on center makes for slightly unresponsive handling. There's a split-second pause between the wheels turning and the body changing direction. I should reiterate though, the Legacy's driving dynamics weren't supposed to be sporty. However, I'm mentioning it because the also comfortable Accord and Mazda 6 make the Legacy look a little clumsy. If you want the sport appearance, a sport trim is available, but it's really just a Legacy Premium in disguise. You get different rims, a tweaked interior and exterior, and drive modes for the transmission, but you don't get any extra juice under the hood or an upgraded suspension.
The steering feel is not really there. It's actually weighted quite well, definitely on the light side, but it does honestly have kind of a quick turning ratio. All Legacies come with torque vectoring, which it's not true torque vectoring. It breaks the inside wheel. You hear that ABS kicking in. But you kind of feel it. And then the all-wheel drive grip, even on these wet roads, whenever you get going, I mean, you'll get a little bit of understeer. So you really have to be driving it like an idiot in bad conditions in order to get it to misbehave. This is a loud road with lots of imperfections, and it just handles them fine. It's not that fun, but I can't even make it. It's hard to make it do something that's bad.
Overall, the standard full-time all-wheel drive combined with the easygoing ride makes the Legacy a secure feeling vehicle. What works against this is the damn near violent auto stop-start.
Agree? Oh.
Now it is safe at least. Most of the time the system shuts off and turns on in a barely noticeable manner, but it still needs some refining if it can still jerk the wheel like it did. I get that Subaru has EPA regulations and numbers they need to hit for emissions, but the start-stop system should 1. Be easily deactivated via a button like on the Forester, not buried in the touchscreen interface like it is here. 2, it should be more reluctant to shut off the engine and be smarter about when it does. I stopped for a few seconds while turning the wheel when it did its thing, and it felt like I hit a monster curb when the steering wheel snapped over. I looked up if there are any aftermarket solutions for specifically the 2020 Outback Legacy, and I could not find anything conclusive. Maybe bamboozling the car into thinking it's towing something? I don't know. If someone figures out a way for specifically the 2020 Legacy or Outback, please be real. Tell us in the comments section. Subaru, please update when the car should shut off. Alright, I'm done bitching. Let's talk engines.
We have 182 horsepower in here, 176 pound-feet of torque. It's 2.5 liter flat 4. It's naturally aspirated. All right, so we'll do a 0 to 60 run real quick. I'm not gonna bother shutting off traction control. I don't think it's gonna slip much. It is wet out, but we have all-wheel drive that's on all the time, so we should be pretty good. We're just gonna shut off the AC. All right, 3, 2, 1. That was with some brake torque, and 60. All right, compared to say like the Honda Accord or Toyota Camry, this is definitely slower. Now, is that a big deal? Probably not.
But Subaru thankfully offers a more powerful 2.4 liter turbocharged flat 4 in the XT models. Unfortunately, it only comes in the limited and touring.
It has 260 horsepower and 277 pound-feet of torque. It's the same engine from the Ascent, but it's powering a much smaller vehicle. When I tested it in the Outback XT, it was impressive. I really liked that engine. And you don't have to put premium fuel in it. It gets 32 miles to the gallon on the highway.
Since there aren't many trade-offs and the difference in acceleration is huge, my pick would be the XT. I just wish this engine was offered in the much cheaper sport or premium trim, as the cheapest price to get some turbo love is a touch above 34 grand. Due to a much lower price, a responsive CVT, and adequate power, the standard 2.5 should make most Legacy owners happy. Subaru's symmetrical all-wheel drive system is competent. It made the stormy portion of my time with the Legacy a breeze since it was on all the time. Unlike some other systems that allocate power to the back only if they sense a slip in the front. Now for a forgotten subject in car reviews: reliability. According to Consumer Reports, reliability for the past 8 years has been pretty consistently above average. In the past, Subarus had issues with head gaskets. They supposedly fixed it after a class action lawsuit for several models around 2011 through 2015. I've had a part-time job as a lot porter for a Subaru dealer for quite some time, and I've seen plenty of high-mileage Subarus running fine. I've also seen some with 80,000 miles and bad head gaskets. I've also witnessed and heard of many Toyotas with the older 2.4 engine burning excessive oil due to bad piston rings. While Toyotas are more consistently reliable than Subarus, Subaru reliability is pretty solid overall, and they second that with great resale values as well. If you want the best resale, Subaru Outback will hold its value better than a Legacy. Maintenance and regular repairs tend to be easier than most new cars, as many things are easy to reach. Getting to the internals can get pricey though.
You also have rear cross traffic alert available in the premium trim, and that comes with blind spot detection as well. It's available in the premium, available in the sport, standard in the limited, and touring.
Subaru gives you standard active safety features through 2 big cameras on the windshield called Eastside. This gives you adaptive cruise, forward collision mitigation, and lane keep assist, the latter of which works much more smoothly than the previous lane departure system. This one centers you in your lane and will actually take the car around corners. Of course, it isn't an autonomous system. The car and I recommend that you keep a hand on the wheel, but I've said it before, I can't believe this shit comes standard on a car that can be had for under 25 grand.
Overall, I really enjoy the new Legacy. It's not exciting in about any way. The all-wheel drive is cool. The steering is improved a little bit from the last generation. It's more comfortable. It's more quiet. The tech looks better. It is better.
Which you would expect. It's the new version. So why Legacy over other midsize sedans? Well, it has plenty of standard safety features, large space for occupants, excellent comfort, above average quality look and feel, solid resale, low cost of ownership, and oh baby, standard all-wheel drive. It's on the high end of the class in many categories. However, it does fall short with its fuel economy, middle of the road fun factor, and that damn auto stop start situation. My conclusion, the all-wheel drive is an added bonus to the Legacy, but it's competitive far beyond that. If you're looking for a techie, practical, and relaxing sedan that won't break the budget, the new Legacy might be the car to beat. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. I'd like to give a huge shout out to Royal on the Eastside and their service department for allowing me to use their loaner vehicle for a review. Royal on the Eastside is a dealership in Bloomington, Indiana. If you're looking for a new or used car, you should check them out.